Ma'am, I need you to step off my aircraft immediately. The white mother's face drains of every ounce of color as she realizes exactly who's speaking to her. Her hands start trembling, her mouth opens but no words come out, and the confidence she had just minutes before completely evaporates. But let me tell you how we got here, because what happened next will absolutely shock you. This is the story of Dr. Maya Chen, a successful black businesswoman who thought she was just taking a routine flight, and Karen Mitchell, an entitled mother who made a decision that would change both their lives forever. What started as a simple airplane seating dispute turned into something none of the passengers on Flight 447 will ever forget. By the end of this story, you'll understand why sometimes the people we judge the harshest are exactly the ones who hold our future in their hands. Let me introduce you to Dr. Maya Chen. At 42 years old, she's everything you'd expect from someone who's dedicated her entire life to excellence. She's walking through the airport terminal in an impeccably tailored navy suit that speaks to her success, but more importantly, to her dignity. Her steps are measured, confident, purposeful. Maya isn't just any traveler. She's a pediatric surgeon, one of the most respected in her field. And she's flying first class to Chicago, where she's the keynote speaker at a major medical conference. As she settles into her seat, she pulls out medical journals, her reading glasses catching the cabin light along with something else that glints on her finger. A simple wedding ring that tells a story of love and loss. Maya has been widowed for 3 years now, but she still wears that ring as a reminder of the love that shaped her. But here's what makes Maya's story even more remarkable. She didn't grow up with privilege. Maya spent her childhood bouncing between foster homes, never knowing if she'd have a stable place to sleep or a consistent meal. While other kids were playing after school, Maya was working 3 different jobs just to pay her way through medical school. Every late night studying, every double shift at the diner, every moment of exhaustion was building toward this life she's created for herself. Right now, she's quietly reviewing her notes for tomorrow's speech, titled Breaking Barriers in Pediatric Medicine. She has no idea that in the next few minutes she'll be living those barriers rather than just speaking about them. On the other hand, meet Karen Mitchell, 38 years old, blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing designer athleisure that probably costs more than most people make in a month. From the moment Karen enters the airport, she's loud, she's demanding, and she treats every flight attendant like they're her personal servants. Karen is traveling with her 16-year-old daughter Emma. And here's where it gets interesting. Emma is nothing like her mother. While Karen is berating the gate agents about some imagined slight, Emma is quietly apologizing to everyone her mother encounters. You can see the embarrassment written all over this teenager's face as she watches her mother's behavior. What's Karen so worked up about? She's furious about what she calls an airline error that resulted in their tickets being downgraded from first class to economy. She's making such a scene that other passengers are stopping to stare, but Emma just keeps her head down, probably wishing she could disappear. Here's the thing though. This isn't just any trip for them. They're flying to Chicago for Emma's Harvard early admission interview. Emma has worked incredibly hard for this opportunity, and you can tell she's nervous, excited, and desperately hoping her mother doesn't ruin this chance for her. If you're already invested in this story and want to see how this incredible situation unfolds, make sure to hit that subscribe button because trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Now, boarding begins, and Maya calmly makes her way to seat 2A. A first-class window seat that she legitimately purchased and deserves to occupy. She settles in with her usual quiet grace, arranges her materials for tomorrow's conference, and begins reading. But then Karen storms onto that plane like a woman on a mission. She checks her boarding pass, seat 8B in economy, and her face literally contorts with rage. This is not the seat she believes she deserves, and she's about to make that everyone else's problem. Karen immediately marches up to the first flight attendant she sees and starts her demands. "There's been a mistake with our seating," she announces, her voice already carrying that entitled tone that makes everyone around her uncomfortable. The flight attendant, professionally trained to handle difficult passengers, politely explains that the flight is completely full and no seat changes are possible. But Karen isn't hearing it. Her voice gets louder, her gestures more dramatic, and poor Emma is standing behind her mother, trying desperately to calm her down while apologizing to everyone in earshot. Other passengers are starting to stare, some pulling out their phones, all of them sensing that something big is about to happen. What do you think Karen's gonna do next? Have you ever witnessed someone act this entitled on a flight? Let me know in the comments below, because Karen's next move is going to change everything for everyone on board that aircraft. Here's where everything starts to spiral completely out of control. Karen has made her decision, and she's walking straight toward Maya's seat with the kind of determination that makes everyone in the cabin hold their breath. "Excuse me," Karen says, tapping Maya on the shoulder with a fake smile that doesn't reach her eyes. "I think there's been a mistake with the seating." Maya looks up from her medical journals with the kind of patience that only comes from years of dealing with difficult situations. She calmly reaches for her boarding pass and shows it to Karen. "I'm in seat 2A, Maya says politely. "This is the seat assigned to me." But Karen isn't backing down. You can literally see her mind working, trying to figure out how to get what she wants. "Well," she says, and here's where her tone completely shifts. "My daughter has a very important interview. This is her future we're talking about." Maya, still maintaining her composure, responds diplomatically. "I understand that's important to you, but I also have important business in Chicago." And right here is where Karen shows her true colors. She looks Maya up and down with this dismissive expression and says, "I'm sure whatever you're doing isn't as important as Emma's Harvard interview." Can you feel the tension building? Maya's jaw tightens just slightly, but she doesn't take the bait. She's dealt with people like Karen before, and she knows exactly what's happening here. But Karen isn't done. Oh no, she's just getting started. She storms back to the flight attendant and returns with the poor woman in tow. "She's in the wrong seat," Karen declares, pointing at Maya like she's committed some kind of crime. The flight attendant, clearly uncomfortable, approaches Maya and politely asks to verify her ticket. Maya hands it over without protest, and of course, it's exactly where she's supposed to be. The flight attendant turns to Karen and apologizes, explaining once again that all seats are assigned and there are no available changes. Karen's voice starts rising, and this is where you can see other passengers beginning to shift in their seats. "This is ridiculous," she shouts. "My daughter deserves that seat more than—" And here she pauses, looking directly at Maya. "Some people." Did you catch that? Some people. Not Maya's name, not even this person. Some people. The racism is starting to bubble to the surface, and everyone in that first-class cabin can feel it. Emma is standing behind her mother now, and you can see the mortification written all over her face. She's pulling on her mother's arm, whispering, "Mom, please stop." But Karen is on a roll now, and there's no stopping her. "We're being discriminated against," Karen announces to the entire cabin. "This is reverse racism." Let me pause here for a second. Did Karen just claim reverse racism because a black woman won't give up the seat she legitimately purchased? The audacity is breathtaking, but Maya remains calm and firm. In fact, other first-class passengers are starting to speak up in Maya's defense, telling Karen she needs to return to her assigned seat. But Karen has completely lost it now. She's reached that point where entitlement meets desperation, and what comes out of her mouth next will shock you to your core. "You need to move to the back where you belong." The silence that follows is deafening. Passengers throughout the cabin literally gasp. A woman in seat 1B covers her mouth in horror. The businessman across the aisle puts down his laptop and stares in disbelief. And Emma? Emma starts crying right there in the aisle, begging her mother to stop. "Mom, please," Emma sobs. "You're embarrassing us. Just stop." But Karen is beyond reason now. She's made this her hill to die on, and she's going all the way. "I know people," she threatens, her voice echoing through the cabin. "My husband will hear about this. You have no idea who you're dealing with." Maya, who has remained composed through this entire ordeal, finally speaks. Her voice is quiet but carries throughout the cabin. "Ma'am, I paid for this seat just like everyone else." That simple statement, delivered with such dignity in the face of such hatred, hits everyone listening. The flight attendant immediately calls for backup, and you can hear her requesting that the captain come to the cabin immediately. Have you ever stood up to someone treating another person this way? Or have you witnessed racism like this in public? Share your experience in the comments below, and from where you're watching this, because this confrontation is far from over. The cabin door opens, and in walks Captain Marcus Williams. He's tall, commanding, with the kind of presence that immediately changes the energy in any room he enters. But here's what Karen doesn't expect. Captain Williams is African American, and he carries himself with the quiet authority of someone who's earned every stripe on his uniform. Karen's face lights up when she sees him approaching. This is it, she thinks. Finally, someone in charge who will fix this situation for her. She straightens up, puts on her most innocent expression, and prepares to play the victim one more time. Captain Williams surveys the scene with the practiced eye of someone who's dealt with countless passenger disputes. His voice is calm, professional, measured. He asks Karen to explain her complaint, and you can practically see her rubbing her hands together in anticipation. Finally, someone with authority, Karen exclaims, her voice dripping with relief. This woman is causing problems and refusing to move from a seat that should rightfully belong to my daughter. The captain nods and asks to see Maya's documentation. Maya quietly hands over her boarding pass and ID, maintaining that same dignified composure she's shown throughout this entire ordeal. Captain Williams reviews everything carefully, professionally, taking his time. But Karen can't help herself. Even with the captain right there, she keeps talking. I don't see why she can't just move to make room for people who actually matter, she says, gesturing dismissively toward Maya. People who actually matter. Let that sink in for a moment. Karen just said that Dr. Maya Chen, a woman who has dedicated her life to saving children, doesn't actually matter. Captain Williams looks up from Maya's documents, and something shifts in his expression. He looks directly at Maya, and his professional demeanor softens just slightly. Dr. Chen, he says, I thought that was you. The confusion on Karen's face is immediate and obvious. You two know each other? She asks, and you can hear the first hint of uncertainty creeping into her voice. What Captain Williams says next will give you chills. Dr. Chen saved my daughter's life 2 years ago. Emergency surgery at Children's Memorial Hospital. The blood starts draining from Karen's face as the reality of what she's done begins to hit her. Maya, ever humble, simply responds, I was just doing my job, Marcus. Just doing her job. This woman who spent hours in surgery saving a child's life calls it just doing her job. Captain Williams turns back to Karen, and now his voice carries the weight of a father's gratitude and a captain's authority. Ma'am, this woman is one of the finest pediatric surgeons in the country. She has saved countless children's lives, including my own daughter's. You can literally watch Karen's world crumble around her. The entitled confidence, the righteous indignation, the absolute certainty that she was in the right, it all evaporates in an instant. She realizes that the woman she just told to move to the back where she belongs is a hero who saves children for a living. The captain's tone shifts completely when he addresses Karen again. And it's ice cold. Ma'am, I need you to return to your seat immediately. Karen starts stammering, trying to backtrack, trying to find some way to undo what she's done. I didn't know, I wasn't trying to be. But Captain Williams cuts her off. You've disrupted my flight and harassed my passengers. Specifically, you've harassed a woman who saved my daughter's life. The other passengers in first class start openly supporting Maya now. Some are nodding in approval, others are actually applauding. The businessman who put down his laptop earlier stands up and starts clapping. The woman in 1B is wiping tears from her eyes. And then Emma, sweet 16-year-old Emma, who has been mortified by her mother's behavior this entire time, finally finds her voice. Mom, please just stop. You're embarrassing us both. If you're watching this thinking about how dramatically life can change in just a few minutes, make sure you subscribe because the next part of this story will show you exactly how grace and dignity triumph over hatred and prejudice. What would you do if you found out you had just attacked someone who had saved lives? Have you ever had to apologize for a massive mistake like this? Let me know in the comments, because Karen's reaction to this revelation is something you have to see to believe. The reality of what's happening finally hits Karen like a freight train. Captain Williams is seriously considering having her removed from the aircraft. Her daughter's Harvard interview, the whole future she's been fighting for, could disappear in the next few minutes because of her own actions. Desperation takes over, and Karen does something she probably hasn't done in years. She begs. Not to the captain, not to the flight attendants, but directly to the woman she just tried to humiliate. "Please," Karen says, her voice breaking as she approaches Maya's seat. "I'm sorry. My daughter's interview, her whole future depends on this trip. Please let them kick us off." You can see the internal struggle playing out on Maya's face. This is a woman who has dedicated her entire life to helping others, to healing, to making things better. Even after everything Karen has put her through, Maya can't ignore the genuine distress she sees, not from Karen, but from Emma. Because Emma is standing there with tears streaming down her face, and she steps forward to address Maya directly. "Dr. Chen," Emma says through her sobs, "I'm so sorry for my mother's behavior. I'm so embarrassed. You didn't deserve any of this." This 16-year-old girl is showing more maturity and grace than her 38-year-old mother has shown this entire flight. Maya looks at Emma, really looks at her, and you can see her heart breaking for this young woman who's been caught in her mother's web of entitlement and prejudice. What Maya does next will restore your faith in humanity. She turns to Emma first, speaking directly to her with the kind of gentle authority that comes from years of comforting frightened children and their families. "Your mother's actions don't define you," Maya says softly. "I can see the kind of person you really are, and it has nothing to do with what happened here today." Then Maya turns to Karen, and her voice carries a different weight. Not harsh, but educational. "I hope you understand the lesson here," she says. "We never know who we're talking to, or what someone else is going through. Treating people with respect isn't about what they can do for us. It's about recognizing their basic humanity." Captain Williams steps in to deliver his final warning to Karen. Her behavior has been completely unacceptable, and if there's any further disruption, she will absolutely be removed from the aircraft. Karen nods frantically, clearly understanding that she's hanging by a thread. But then Maya does something that shocks everyone in that cabin, including the captain who saved her from this situation. "Emma," Maya says, reaching into her briefcase, "what kind of medicine are you interested in studying at Harvard?" Emma looks confused, still wiping tears from her face. "Pediatrics," she whispers. "I've wanted to work with children since I was little." Maya pulls out her business card and hands it to Emma. "If you're serious about medicine, and if you can learn from what happened here today, I'd like to write you a recommendation letter for Harvard's medical program." The silence in that cabin is absolutely deafening. Emma's mouth falls open in shock. Other passengers are staring in disbelief. Even Captain Williams looks surprised by this act of grace. Karen is standing there in complete shame, unable to process that the woman she tried to dehumanize is now offering to help her daughter achieve her dreams. Emma takes the card with trembling hands. "Dr. Chen," she says, her voice barely above a whisper, "I don't know what to say after what my mother did." "You're not responsible for your mother's choices," Maya replies, "but you are responsible for your own. Show me that you've learned something today, and we'll see about that recommendation." Emma nods eagerly, clutching that business card like it's made of gold. Karen stands there in stunned silence, probably realizing for the first time in her life that her actions have consequences, and that sometimes the people we hurt the most are the ones who end up saving us. The flight proceeds peacefully after that. Maya returns to her medical journals, Emma sits quietly with her mother, and the entire cabin has witnessed something extraordinary. Have you ever seen someone respond to hatred with such incredible grace? What do you think it takes to forgive someone who has just attacked you so publicly? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this story isn't over yet. The plane touches down in Chicago, and as passengers begin gathering their belongings, something beautiful happens. Maya quietly approaches Emma, who's still clutching that business card like it's the most precious thing she's ever been given. Emma, Maya says softly, making sure they have a moment of privacy. I meant what I said about that recommendation letter. If you're serious about medicine, call me. But I need you to understand something. Medicine isn't just about healing bodies. It's about seeing the humanity in every person who walks through your door, regardless of what they look like or where they come from. Emma nods earnestly, tears filling her eyes again, but this time they're tears of gratitude and hope. Dr. Chen, I promise you, I will never be like my mother. I will be better. I will treat everyone with respect and dignity, and I will never ever judge someone based on their race or anything else. From across the aisle, Karen watches this exchange in complete silence. The woman who was so loud, so demanding, so certain of her superiority just hours ago is now humbled beyond words. She's witnessed her teenage daughter receive more grace and opportunity from the woman she attacked than she ever deserved. As passengers file off the plane, something remarkable happens. One by one, they approach Maya to thank her. The businessman who witnessed the whole confrontation shakes her hand and tells her she's an inspiration. The woman from seat 1B gives her a hug and says she's never seen such dignity under pressure. Even the flight attendants take a moment to express their admiration for how she handled an impossible situation. Captain Williams is the last to say goodbye, and he grips Maya's hand firmly. Thank you, he says simply, for everything. Not just for saving my daughter, but for showing everyone on this plane what real strength looks like. As Maya walks through the Chicago airport terminal, heading to her medical conference where she'll speak about breaking barriers in pediatric medicine, she carries with her the knowledge that she's just lived those very words. She didn't just talk about breaking barriers. She demolished them with grace, dignity, and an open heart. Here's what makes this story so powerful. In a world where we're constantly told that the appropriate response to hatred is more hatred, where we're encouraged to fight fire with fire, Maya Chen chose a different path. She chose to respond to prejudice with grace, to answer cruelty with kindness, and to meet ignorance with wisdom. Maya once said, "We rise by lifting others, not by putting them down." On Flight 447, she didn't just live those words, she transformed lives with them. Let me tell you about the woman who made this choice. Dr. Maya Chen has performed over 2,000 successful pediatric surgeries. She's established free clinics in underserved communities. She's mentored countless young medical students, many of them from backgrounds just like hers, kids who grew up in foster care, who worked multiple jobs to pay for school, who were told they'd never amount to anything. Maya has received numerous awards for her medical excellence, but more importantly, she's received thousands of thank you letters from parents whose children are alive today because of her skill and dedication. She's the kind of person who saves lives during the day and then volunteers at homeless shelters at night. This is who Karen Mitchell told to move to the back where she belongs. This is the woman she dismissed as unimportant. This is the person whose humanity she refused to recognize. Sometimes the people we judge, the people we dismiss, the people we treat as less than human, are exactly the ones who can change our lives. Emma Mitchell learned that lesson at 30,000 feet, and it will shape the rest of her journey toward becoming a doctor. The next time you're tempted to judge someone based on what they look like, or where they come from, or what you assume about their worth, remember Dr. Maya Chen. Remember that behind every face is a story, behind every person is a purpose, and behind every interaction is an opportunity to choose grace over judgment. If this story has inspired you to think differently about treating each other, I want to hear about it. Subscribe to this channel and share your own stories of overcoming prejudice, witnessing grace under pressure, or choosing kindness in the face of hatred. Because these stories matter, and your voice matters too. Maya Chen boarded that plane as a successful surgeon heading to a conference. She left it as something even more powerful, a living example of what happens when we choose to lift others up instead of tearing them down. And somewhere in Chicago, a young woman named Emma is carrying a business card and a second chance. Proof that even in our darkest moments, grace can light the way forward.